What is up, Rams house? Welcome back into another live stream. Actually, today, back-to-back days on live stream. We are going to be previewing the Rams versus Cardinals game coming up this Sunday. It is the 3-13 Arizona Cardinals coming in against the 11-5 Los Angeles Rams in what potentially could be the last SoFi Stadium game for the Rams all year. Hopefully, we get a nice home game in the championship in some sort of capacity, but either way, we're going to enjoy a SoFi Stadium game here on Sunday in a game where the Rams have an opportunity to be able to bounce back after back-to-back weeks of taking some tough losses in different kind of manners here. And I don't know if you guys were like me that was surprised when Sean McVay came out after the loss to the Atlanta Falcons and said that the starters are going to play this game in a game where if the Rams win and the 49ers lose this weekend, the Rams will maintain the 5th seed and go into either Carolina or Tampa Bay. But if they win this game, 49ers win their game, or if the Rams lose this game, and whatever else happens after that, the Rams are going to stay in that 6th seed, and they'll play either the Eagles or the Bears on the road. So that's kind of what you're looking at going into this game. It's going to be interesting to see how the Rams approach this one when it comes to playing starters. Are they going to just play till halftime? Are they going to play this entire game? That is definitely a question worth pondering here for the Rams. And we obviously can speculate all we want. The Rams are going to approach this whatever way they feel best and whatever is necessary. My thing going into this game that I think is how the Rams are going to approach this starters and backup situation. I think if the Rams put together a good half of football and they're up, have a good lead at halftime, I don't see any reason that the Rams keep the starters out there for the second half. I think the Rams just want to get some positive momentum after back-to-back losses and just get some good momentum going into the playoffs, knowing that they have the caliber of players to do it. But putting out some good, clean football heading into halftime, that's when I think the Rams would pull their starters out of this game and backups like Jimmy Garoppolo would come in. We could see a Jarquez Hunter. We could see some guys who aren't typically in starter roles be in starter roles after half if the Rams approach the first half the right way. So let's just get into it, the live edition of this Rams versus Cardinals preview. I've never done this live. So here's our little banner down below. Let's get into the Rams offense versus this Cardinals defense. So I have the numbers up here for you guys on this little graphic. The Cardinals, actually, we're going to switch that one out. This is why we're doing it live, I guess. Here's the right one that we need. Rams offense versus the Cardinals defense. So Cardinals defense really hasn't been very impressive this year. I think they played a lot more with fight in the start in like the first half of the year. But as they've lost some guys to key injuries, a lot of guys have been beat up throughout the year, and the team's season has just not gone the way that they wanted. It does kind of feel like they're in that state where they're just kind of giving up. They'll still give some teams some trouble, but it does feel like a lot of them just are kind of bought out after the way the season has gone. So points per game, the points allowed per game for this Cardinals defense, they rank 29th across the NFL with 28.2 points allowed per game. Total yards allowed per game, they're 26th at 355.4. Passing yards allowed per game, they're 24th with 229.4. Rushing yards allowed per game, 25th, 125.9. Sacks, 26th at 29th, and or at 29. And interceptions, they rank 17th. They only have 10 on the year. So really, when you look at this defense, it's kind of what you'd expect rankings-wise. This is a defense that just really hasn't been impressive. And I do have to, shout out some of the injuries that they have had. Like, they have lost some key names like a Walter Nolan on the defensive side of the ball. Buda Baker missed last game. They've had some key guys going in and out, especially in that cornerback room. So that definitely contributes to how this Cardinals defense has played this year. And really, they went out there, they made some additions in free agency, in the draft, to be able to kind of bolster up this defense. And it just really hasn't come to pass. And on top of that, you're in a losing season. You've only won 3 games. And so everything's just kind of fallen apart here. But if you look at the Rams offense, we know how good this offense is, despite what their performance was last week against the Falcons. Rams offense is first in points per game at 30.1, second in total offensive yards per game at 403.6. Passing yards per game, they're second, 278.0. Rushing yards per game, they rank 8th, 125.6, and 14th in time of possession. So this Rams offense, despite, again, what happened last game, has been one of the top offenses in the league. And the Cardinals defense is really struggling. So this is definitely one of those matchups where, hey, the Rams want to get momentum into the playoffs. They're going to be playing starters. They want to get some good, clean tape out there heading into the playoffs, establish that momentum into the playoffs. And this is just the kind of opponent that you can look to have kind of like a get right game. As sad as it is for Cardinals fans, they are in that position where this is a prime opportunity for the Rams offense to do what we've seen them do all year long. I really do think last game was kind of an exception, just kind of one of those weird games. Falcons came to play, had a good game plan. Rams offense, I do feel confident about against this Cardinals defense. We don't know if key guys like Budda Baker are going to be in for this game too, which would help the Rams offense even more, obviously. So that's definitely something to be able to keep your eyes on in this kind of thing. But I do think that whether the Rams play their starters play one half or the full game, I tend to think that they're going to play one half. I do think that this Rams offense is going to have success against this Cardinals defense. But just speaking about some of the playmakers on this Cardinals defense, I want to start off with what I call the human missile in Budda Baker. Now, we don't know if he is going to play this game or not. He's been dealing with a concussion, I believe, and I think he was dealing with like a hand or a finger injury. And so we are not sure if he's going to play this game. I think he's been added to practice a little bit more recently, getting phased back in more. So who knows if we're going to see Budda Baker or not. I think he's going to do everything he can to get on the field for the last game of the season. And Rams did a really good job against him last matchup of just being able to work around him. He has kind of been one of those guys that has done well against the Rams. He's always around the football. And it's just one of those most athletic safeties that I have seen, able to get around blocks, able to make all the kinds of tackles, disrupt things. Obviously, on this graphic, he is leading the team in tackles, has half a sack, has an interception. And he also, on top of all of that, has the knowledge of this Rams offense. He's gone against it for years and years. So this is a guy I'd be keeping my eye out for, because if he does end up playing this game, no matter what he did in the last game, he is definitely an impact kind of player for this Cardinals defense. And he's one of those guys that, like, I don't think he gets enough recognition because of the team he plays for, but he's certainly going to have an impact on this game for sure. Other guys to talk about here, I have the disruptors of Josh Sweat and Calais Campbell. Both of these guys combined for 17 and a half sacks this season and 4 forced fumbles. All of those came from Josh Sweat, the forced fumbles. And Josh Sweat has been the big name addition for this defense off the edge from the Eagles. We know him well. He's in double-digit sacks for the Arizona Cardinals. Despite them having a bad season, it has not been on Josh Sweat. He has been an impact player. So anytime we get him against A.J. Jackson, if A.J. Jackson plays and Warren McClendon, that's going to be something to keep an eye on, because he has been definitely as advertised for this Cardinals defense, despite everything else going wrong. You can't pin the blame on Josh Sweat because he's been doing his job there and some. And then, of course, Calais Campbell, the guy who has been in the league for forever and is still doing it at a high level. I believe he has 6.5 sacks. I'd have to go back and check that, but he's around 6 or 7 sacks on the year. He's also a guy with how big he is. He can stuff the run, and he bats balls down at the line of scrimmage. I still remember against the Miami Dolphins what he was able to do against the Rams last year, how many passes he batted down. So both of these guys in tandem, one plays on the interior, one on the exterior, are going to be guys that the Rams are going to have to game plan around, because, again, the defense around them may not be playing super well, but these guys definitely make their impact felt. And I'm sure Calais Campbell in the middle there is not going to want to allow another 200-plus yards rushing like they did last time, and there are going to be course corrections. And last time, Josh Sweat didn't even touch Matthew Stafford one time, and so I'm sure he's going to want to be getting in there. That's going to be something big to watch here from the Arizona defense, as they're going to try to get right after giving up over 40 points to the Rams. But who knows? There's also a lot of that kind of quit talk going on with the Arizona Cardinals and that kind of conversation, which I think is totally fair with the way their season has gone. So those two guys are absolute disruptors, key guys to have to watch here. As far as some key matchups here for the Rams offense versus this Cardinals defense, we can go right back to it, to Josh Sweat, who we were just talking about, against Warren McClendon. Josh Sweat, he can line up on the right side. He can line up on the light. He can line up on the right side or the left side is what I was trying to say. So we're going to see him on both sides here against both kinds of tackles. But I think the matchup between Warren McClendon Jr. is going to be a big one here, just because Warren McClendon, really, you haven't felt any sort of drop off since Rob Havenstein went out with the injury. In fact, I think the position has gotten better and a little bit more consistent. Warren has been playing absolutely incredible, even against guys like Aiden Hutchinson. And so this matchup between their best guy in Josh Sweat and Warren McClendon Jr., a guy who's been ascending for the Rams, is going to be a key one for me to watch, even if it's not going to be every snap, those two guys against each other, because Josh Sweat does move around. this is definitely going to be one to keep your eyes on as the game's going on, because it's going to be like best on best, because Warren McClendon really has given himself the right to be in those conversations of one of the better linemen here on the Rams. And that's impressive with what he's been able to do. Another matchup here with the Rams offense versus this Cardinals defense. We're going Puka Nacua. This guy's on the key matchups every week, it feels like, but he should be. Puka Nacua, one of the craziest receivers that I've seen, one of the most unique receivers that I've seen, going up against Will Johnson, their rookie cornerback. I believe he was drafted in the second round for the Arizona Cardinals, and he's been a good player for them for sure. When he lined up against Nacua the last time, we definitely saw Nacua win a good amount of reps against him. Nacua had over 170 yards in that game against the Cardinals last time. And to be fair to Will Johnson, like Nacua does that to the best corners, so I don't really know what you're supposed to do there. But we obviously saw that one where Nacua went up and kind of mossed Will Johnson on that streak route there near the end of the game. That really just like put things away completely. After that, there's just not even a question. And I think it's going to be a tough test for Will Johnson. Will the Cardinals play it the same way, where he's on Nacua with Devontae Adams missing this game? And last time that these two teams played, Devontae Adams was in. We'll see how they kind of approach that. But a rookie cornerback, as good as he is, going up against Puka Nacua, I like my chances with Puka Nacua. I don't know about you guys, but that's where I'm going. My third and final matchup here to keep my eyes on for the Rams offense versus this Cardinals defense. I'm going up with Terrence Ferguson, or as we like to call him here in the Rams fan base, Fergie. He's just been one of those guys that has been really exciting to watch this season. The more reps he gets, I truly think he's the most explosive tight end in this Rams tight end room, not just based off of numbers, but the way they use him in this offense. It feels like every time he gets a target, it's at least going to be 10 or 15 yards. It's not like a dump off option to Ferguson. The way they use him is very much like a wide receiver. They use him on those double moves or the post and corner kind of plays. And we saw the explosive play he had against the Falcons. I think Ferguson could get a little bit more reps here. Maybe they save him going into the playoffs. We'll see how they approach it. I think he's going to get more reps, though. And him against Jalen Thompson, one of their safeties back there in the back end, is going to be matched up against Ferguson, especially the way the Rams use the tight end. Jalen Thompson is going to be matched up against Terrence Ferguson. And I think there's going to be some opportunities to tap into that athleticism, that explosive playability that we've seen in the past. So that's going to be a very fun one to watch, very underrated. I don't think a lot of people are talking about it. But as far as some offensive keys here for the Rams offense, I'll get your guys' comments here soon. Thank you all who are watching right now. But offensive keys, these are big ones. Definitely let me know yours in the chat. I'm going to start off right here with committing to the ground attack, because we saw last time the Rams played the Arizona Cardinals, they put up over 200 yards rushing between Blake Corum and Kyren Williams. Now, Blake Corum is not expected to play in this game against the Arizona Cardinals. It's not looking that way with the injury that he dealt with. I would be very surprised if he played this game. But we could see some Kyren Williams. Even if we don't see Kyren Williams and they decide to rest him for one reason or another, you could see Ronnie Rivers. You could see Jarquez Hunter for the first time. And the Rams offensive line was getting good removal against the Cardinals defense last time to be able to put up those numbers. And if Kyren Williams plays, I think even Cardinals fans know he's kind of like the Cardinal killer when it comes to people who just do really well against the Cardinals. So I think the Rams should commit to the ground attack. And if you do that well and you start running the ball well, obviously it opens up everything else for your offense. But on top of that, you don't really want to risk Stafford getting hurt, taking some hits that he doesn't need to take. So I think if you can establish that ground attack, get good removal there, wear out their defense, take the shots when you have them with Matthew Stafford, limit those times where Stafford could take a hit there. I would like it if the Rams were able to establish that ground attack. And again, we've had success against the Cardinals in the past on the ground. So that's kind of something I want to see the Rams lean into, especially with the 13 personnel that they've been pulling out. If they can get that ground attack established, that's going to be big here for the Rams offense. Next key here, though, I think changing personnel frequently is going to be something that I'm hoping the Rams do here. And I think they are going to do, especially with this is not going to be like a normal like week 3, week 4 regular season game. Just knowing that the playoffs are the week ahead, I think the Rams are going to rotate through different kinds of personnels and players. And so I think rotating and changing through your personnel against a defense who just really does not rank great in any sort of category in the Arizona Cardinals, against a defense that's young, that's beat up, has some players that honestly probably shouldn't be starting at certain positions. I think if you can change from personnel like 11, 12, 13, use all those kinds of motions, I really think that you can put a defense in a tizzy, like panicking on what they're going to be doing. We can change those personnels up, change the looks from 13, 11, 12. Also change guys out like a Jordan Whittington, a Tutu Watwell, Terrence Ferguson. I think that could be big against a defense like this that just really is struggling. Obviously, you could just commit to 13 personnel all the way and just do a bunch of different plays out of 13. But I really think that if you change the personnels, change in different kind of guys in and out of the lineup, you can really catch this defense just in some lacking areas where they have been this season. So changing personnel is going to be big for me. Last key, I think establishing rhythm offensively, you can say this against any team. Establishing rhythm is big for me, though, because it felt like, I don't know what you guys think, against the Atlanta Falcons last game, it didn't really feel like we ever truly had a rhythm to the offense. It felt like we were just taking deep shots. It kind of felt like they were just experimenting out there with certain plays, trying to take those deep shots, and obviously that didn't end up working out. I think if you can get some rhythm here, a good balance to the run in the pass, you don't have to get 60 yards on a deep play action pass down the field and move down the field. I'm totally fine if the Rams go the methodical approach on certain drives, and other drives let it open up and throw it downfield. But I just don't think you have to be uber aggressive against a defense like this every single play. Establish that rhythm, get a good balance of the run and the pass, and I feel pretty confident about what the Rams can do against this defense. But I'm being honest here, making the keys to the Rams offense for this game in particular, I honestly, I feel like there's not a lot of areas the Rams could go wrong going against this Cardinals team. That's not supposed to be a shot. It's just like that's the state of the Cardinals where they are right now. So those are the offensive keys here. I'll move into my defensive keys real quick. I just want to say hello to everybody in the chat here, and I'll get your comments a little bit later. I appreciate everybody in here. We have David in here. He says Rams will be ready against Arizona Cardinals. Hopefully. Muad'Dib says any place, any team. I'm with you. Thanks for coming in, Muad'Dib. Willie Bowen says, I love the LA Rams, but the refs made me mad because they rigged the Seattle Sea Chickens and Atlanta Chickens against the LA Rams. Certainly some weird calls in there. I definitely don't disagree with you there for sure. He says, Happy New Year, Dave. Thank you so much, man. Happy New Year to you as well. And Muad'Dib says, offense key 13 personnel every play. I'm definitely not down or not mad if they go into 13 personnel heavy. I just think if you change up the personnels, that would give you a good opportunity against these Cardinals. But again, I don't really think that there's like a huge margin for error for the Rams where it's like, or like a small margin of error where if they don't do this, they're going to lose this game. I think that the door is pretty wide open to be able to win this thing. They just got to go out and do it. Strikers Corner, thanks for coming in. Says that, will we see Jarquez Hunter this week? I honestly think we do. I think after halftime, the Rams are going to put in some backups, and I think that's when he could get in there. But could be wrong. But if any game on the season, it would be the last game of the season. Rams put in some backups in the second half. That's where I think we're going to see him. But thank you, everybody in the chat. Let's move over to the other side of the football. We talked about the Rams offense versus this Cardinals defense. And now we can go over to the flip side of things here with the Rams defense versus the Cardinals offense. And here are the rankings for the Cardinals offense versus the Rams defense. Cardinals offense been up and down a lot this year. Obviously, haven't had Kyler Murray for a lot of it. Jacoby Brissett has been in there and actually playing pretty well for what he can do in this situation. But yeah, points per game, Cardinals offense 24th at 20.9 points per game. Total offensive yards per game, they rank 15th at 349.2. Passing yards allowed, or passing yards per game, they actually rank 6th at 255.2. So again, Brissett's actually moving the ball really well in the passing game for the Cardinals. And then they're 29th in rushing yards per game. This has definitely been one of the worst running teams in the NFL. Even when you just look at every game, what they're putting up, it's just not that impressive. Obviously, under 100 yards per game on average is pretty poor. So that's definitely not where you want to be if you're the Cardinals. Time of possession per game, they rank 22nd at 29 minutes and 55 seconds. So obviously, you see where the Rams defense ranks here. Rams defense has been up and down for sure this year, still trying to establish that consistency. But I do like the matchup against this Cardinals offense. But I also think that you can't completely discount what they've been able to do through the air with Jacoby Brissett. Despite some of the losses that they've taken this season, the Cardinals at least can move the ball through the air well. And you don't really want to get into, like, it sounds weird, but you don't want to get into a shootout against the Cardinals because they can move the ball through the air. Now, if the Rams get in a shootout with the Cardinals, I would still take the Rams to win just because of who we have on our side. But I don't think enough people talk about the way the Cardinals offense can move through the air. And we actually saw that in the first couple drives of the game last time the Rams and Cardinals played. I really think that your biggest key and like biggest thing to worry about going up against this Cardinals offense is the way they're able to move the ball through the air. And as long as you can stop them there, Rams defense has been one of those defenses that has been a little bit bend but don't break this year, where they'll let you move down the field. They'll let you even get past the 50. But usually if you get to like the 40 or the 30-yard line, that's when the Rams defense tightens up. So I would expect to see the Cardinals to be able to pass with some success this game. I just don't know if it's going to lead to a lot of points because the Rams defense does typically tighten up when they get when other offenses get past like the 50 and the 40-yard line. So that's kind of what I would expect here. But again, Brissett, he's been doing good, moving the ball through the air, even better than Kyler Murray, I would argue. Got them inside the top 10 for passing yards per game. It just hasn't translated to a lot of points and success there. So that's obviously a big hang up with this offense of the Arizona Cardinals. So definitely a duo to be able to watch here on this offense. You guys are aware of it's Michael Wilson and it's Trey McBride. Like these two guys have combined for 2,000 yards, over 2,000 yards, receiving 17 touchdowns between the both of them. Trey McBride is at 1,100 yards as a tight end, and that is crazy impressive. He just broke the reception record for a tight end in a season. And my friend Peo Time said that the Cardinals should rename their team from the Arizona Cardinals to the Arizona McBrides. And honestly, I don't think it's a bad idea. McBride is like the heartbeat of this offense. But I mean, Michael Wilson, too. This is a guy that's been coming on. We saw him have a big game against the Rams last time. I believe he had like 120, 130 yards against the Rams last time. He has been more impressive than Marvin Harrison has been for this team, Marvin Harrison Jr. And that's saying something. We know the kind of prospect Marvin Harrison Jr. was coming out of college and the expectations he has. For one reason or another, it hasn't really been met. But Michael Wilson really has been heating it up this year. He's, I believe, getting close to 1,000 yards. And he's about like 900 yards receiving right now. But like in particular, the last 3, 4, 5 games for Michael Wilson, he's been heating up. So these two guys are going to be the big guys that you're going to have to watch for this Rams defense because they are basically the offense. They're the identity of this offense. With the amount of passing yards that the Cardinals have been able to put up this year with Jacoby Brissett, it's really been 14 and 85 that have been catching a lot of those passes. And those are going to be key guys for the Rams to have to try to slow down and stop here. So definitely keep an eye on those two guys. Hopefully we can at least slow them down. I don't think you can come in and completely expect to just stop these two guys. But if you can neutralize them and slow down their impact a little bit, you know what they've been able to do this year, even on a bad team. I think the Rams have a good shot at winning this game. So that's definitely some guys to be able to watch here. Run game, again, for the Arizona Cardinals, they are one of the worst run teams that I have seen this year. They had one good game a couple of weeks ago, actually. But other than that, they have just been so bad in the run game for one reason or another. It's been blocking, play calling. Everything's just been pretty bad for this Cardinals offense, to be fair. But again, passing offense, if you can stop that, that is really what they're doing well. So definitely keep an eye out for the Rams against this passing offense that is a little bit underrated. Let's get into some key matchups here now for the Rams defense versus this Cardinals offense. Let's talk about it. 85 Trey McBride against number 3 Cam Curl. McBride, again, is one of those guys. He just had a phenomenal season, 1,100 yards, breaking tight end records there. He really is the identity of this offense. Rams typically struggle against tight ends. So if they can find a way to at least slow down Trey McBride a little bit, if they keep him to like 70, 80 yards, I'm pretty happy just with the kind of season that they have had. Trey McBride has had. Cam Curl, definitely one of the more underrated safeties in the league, leading the Rams in solo tackles. I think that's one of the things McBride does well, too. He gets the ball in his hands, and he can get the yards after the catch. And so if the Rams can find a way to slow down Trey McBride a little bit with Cam Curl, maybe even double team at times, that's going to be big. But Cam Curl versus McBride is going to be huge, too, because we're going to see them matched up man-to-man a lot of times in this game. So keep your eyes on Cam Curl versus Trey McBride. Next up, we are going with Ahkello Witherspoon versus Michael Wilson. So, yeah, we just talked about McBride. Now we go to Wilson, who's been absolutely on fire. Ahkello Witherspoon, been kind of a strange year for him. Obviously, he was out for a good chunk of time because of his broken clavicle, I believe it was. And he has been back for the last 3 or 4 weeks, but the Rams haven't used him every game. He's been healthy scratch a couple times. Last game against the Falcons, he actually did play, and he had a really good game against the Falcons, did a really good job. Falcons also just didn't pass it a lot. So how much can you really take from that? But him, I think he's going to be matched up on Michael Wilson to get him out. I also think Kobe Durant will be, because Wilson does go in the slot for sure a good amount too. So that's definitely going to be something. But I think Ahkello Witherspoon against Michael Wilson is going to be a big matchup here, a big test for Ahkello who we're still kind of waiting to see. He had a good end of last year. Really, the last couple years, he's ended the season strong. I don't think we've seen him get back to that peak play yet, but I think last week against the Falcons, we saw him start to get to that level again. So Kella Witherspoon, Michael Wilson, that's definitely going to be a big matchup for me to keep my eyes on here and for you guys too. My last matchup here that I have, we know obviously the tackles have been struggling for the Arizona Cardinals. Paris Johnson Jr. has been out with a season-ending injury. Kelvin Beachum against Jared Verse is going to be a big one. One of those ones where Jared Verse is not going to be on Beachum every time because I believe he plays right tackle for them. Correct me if I'm wrong. I believe he plays right tackle. So Jared Verse isn't going to get a lot of those. Byron Young will. But I think at the Rams, knowing that Beachum is a backup, knowing that he's just been kind of iffy, wishy-washy kind of player, I think Jared Verse is going to get matched up on him a few times. And that really could be enough for Verse. As long as Jacoby Brissett holds on to the football like he's done a lot this year, he's actually been one of the quarterbacks that has held on to the football the longest. I think if you can get Verse on Beachum in specific matchups and even in certain stunt scenarios, whatever you want to draw up, I think that is going to be a prime matchup for the Rams to be able to take advantage of a backup tackle there. But both tackles are backups for the Cardinals right now, if I remember correctly. So Byron Young and Jared Verse have an opportunity to do something special here. And that's kind of something that I'm looking forward to in this Cardinals game. A lot of people are focused on the offense, what the Rams offense can do. I think for me, I'm looking like, okay, can this Rams pass rush get a good game put together? One of those dominant games like we were seeing at the end of last year, a signature Rams defensive line game, because we just really haven't seen that this season. We've seen flashes. This is a team you should be able to get home to, especially with the amount of times that they pass it, especially with how long Jacoby holds the ball, and especially going up against some backup inferior tackles. Like, this is the matchup that I want the Rams defense to be able to perform well against, especially on that defensive line. So that is something that I'm going to be keeping my eyes on there. Jared Verse, Kelvin Beachum. In the times that we get it, I think that's going to be a big one for the Rams to be able to take advantage of here in this game. And yeah, we went back to the disruptors for whatever reason. I don't know why I'm on the graphic, but defensive keys here for the Rams defense against this Cardinals offense. I'm going to start off here with consistently pressuring Brissett, and that's just kind of playing into what I just talked about. And if we can get a signature Rams defensive line game in this one, I'm going to be pretty happy about it, because we've been waiting for that kind of game. Cardinals are going to pass the football a lot, especially if you can get ahead early with the Rams offense. If the Rams offense can play like what they have been all year, aside from last game, really you're going to be forcing the Cardinals to pass the ball, and the Cardinals just don't run the ball a lot. So if you can consistently pressure Brissett, really wear down on him, I think you have an opportunity to do some special things on defense and really put up a good performance. So I'm hoping the Rams can consistently get in there, even if they aren't getting the sacks at the beginning of the game. Just rough them up a little bit, help them hold on to the ball, and mistakes will come eventually, right? You're going to wear them down eventually. So that's the first key for the Rams defense for me. Second one, slow down McBride and Wilson. Easier said than done. Really, McBride and Wilson have been the heartbeat and the identity of this offense, especially McBride. It's crazy because Marvin Harrison may still play this game. I think he got a little bit banged up, but I think he may still play. But I'm still more worried about Michael Wilson than I am Marvin Harrison right now. Marvin Harrison Jr. obviously had a big game against us last year, week one, or not week one. It was like early on in the season last year. But McBride and Wilson have been the guys that have been on fire. If you can slow them down, again, you can't stop them, but if you can slow them down, I feel good about my chances here. And those guys are the heartbeat of the offense. So if the Rams can find a way to be able to slow them down, that'll be big. My last key for the Rams defense, it's bring the red zone defense to the table. I talked about it. This Cardinals offense, as bad as they have been, their passing offense is a top 10 passing offense, and they move the ball through the air really well. Again, we saw that in the first matchup against the Rams. So I'm fine if the Rams let them get past the 50 and even to the 40. If you bring your red zone defense, hold them to field goals, which, by the way, Josh Carty is their kicker right now, former Ram, which will be interesting to see how that works out. But if you can hold them to field goals, I think the Rams offense can be able to outscore that. So again, I'm fine if the Rams are bending, letting them move the ball down the field, as long as they stop them, bring that red zone defense, maybe force them to have to go for it on fourth downs, that kind of thing. I'm fine with the bend but don't break kind of approach here from the Rams defense, bringing that red zone defense as they have for most of the year. That's going to be big for me. But we always got to pick a winner at the end of this game. That is what game previews are for. So I want to hear your thoughts on what the score prediction will be in this game. This game is so hard to predict because really, like, again, from my perspective, I think the Rams are going to get up early, and I think at halftime they're going to bring in their backups. I do think that the Rams backups, if they play the Rams backups from the start to the end of this game, I would still feel pretty confident about winning this game. That's a testament to the Rams backups that they have, but it's also a testament to where the Cardinals are at right now. So this game is hard to predict score prediction wise. I think the Rams are going to win this game. I think their offense gets back on track. I do think that the backups are going to come in after halftime, and I think things kind of slow down a little bit after that. I'm going to pick the Rams to win this one 27-14. I just have a good feeling about this game. I don't think the Rams are going to have to do anything crazy. I really think Sean McVay is just going to want to see clean football in the first half. I think he's just going to want to see the offense moving and having a rhythm like they have been all year. Just clean up some of the mistakes that they're making. If they can get a good product going into halftime, I truly think backups are going to come in. I think the Rams could be up at halftime, I don't know, 21 or 20 to, let's just say 7 or something like that. Second half, I think the Rams backups could put up a touchdown. Cardinals put up another touchdown, or maybe the Cardinals score early and then the Rams are able to respond on defense and just hold them out the rest of the way. Regardless, I think the Rams are going to win this game 27-14, improve to 12-5, go into the playoffs, whether it be the 5th seed, whether it be the 6th seed, go into the playoffs with more momentum than they have currently. And hopefully we'll have some of that conversation about the panic around the Rams and where they're at right now, be able to die down a little bit. So that's my thoughts on this game. Rams win 27-14. Thank you all for tuning in to this live stream edition. I'm going to get to some of the comments in here, try to catch up. I think we left off right here at Sportsaholic. Thanks for coming in, Sportsaholic. Said, I'm worried about Matt Stafford. He really keeps missing wide open guys. I'm honestly not too worried about Matthew Stafford. He's been putting up an MVP kind of year, and I think last game against the Falcons was one of those weird kind of games that you're going to get out of any quarterback. It just felt like kind of one of those weird games. Falcons played him well. I don't think we typically see Matthew Stafford miss the throws that he was last game, especially that one to Xavier Smith, I think is in everybody's heads in that kind of situation that we were in. I still feel confident about Matthew Stafford. The last time we saw him just kind of missing throws left and right was the Eagles game all the way back. Was that like week 2? No, that wasn't week 2. That had to be like week 3 or week 4. Somewhere in there, early on in the season. I don't remember exactly when it was. Stafford had like 4 or 5 missed throws there, and it was in key moments. But all year long, he has been proving to be a very accurate quarterback, a quarterback who knows defenses. He can throw it when he's looking at you and when he's not looking at you, which is a pretty crazy concept. But honestly, I can understand your concern there. It was a miss in a big moment, but I think the Rams and Matthew Stafford over this season have shown enough for me personally to be able to trust that he's going to be hitting his guys. But appreciate your insight there. Our ends are tighter. Not exactly sure what you mean by that, Moody, but I appreciate your comment. Rams Room says Cardinals are QB away from being very good. Lots of talent on that team. That's a good point. They do have a lot of talent. I mean, I still think that if they got a legitimate quarterback on that team, I think they would still be a year away. They'd still need a few more pieces in different areas. But to your point, there's talent on this team, especially on the offensive side of the ball, but even on the defensive side of the ball, when they're fully healthy and when they're in games where they're not just kind of in like quitting mode where the season's just over, I do think that they're kind of one of those teams that could be scary if they got a legitimate quarterback. But thankfully for Rams fans, they don't necessarily have a legitimate one right now. I do think, like, I admire what Brissett's been able to do with the Cardinals since coming in. Like, he definitely has elevated that passing offense compared to what Kyler was doing. But definitely a good point about some of the talent they have there for sure. Let's see. Put his old cloud goal back in. I'm talking about Kello, I believe. I just came to say, oh, hello, Kello. Thanks for coming in, Peo time. Yeah, I'm very curious to see how the Rams use Kello Witherspoon for this game. Definitely going to be interesting. I don't think he's going to be a healthy scratch like he's been not the last couple games, but like before that, he had like 2 games in a row where he just didn't even play. Did play against the Falcons. I do think he played a lot better. And seeing him against the Cardinals, actually, that was the first game he came back off of his injury, was against the Cardinals in the first matchup, I believe. And that was not a great day. A lot of the Michael Wilson catches actually came against him, but I think that was just a little bit because of the rust of coming back off of an injury. That's kind of where I think that play came from. But going to be interesting to see Akello. I think he's one of those guys, like, you get one more good game from Akello, and I feel pretty confident going into the playoffs with him. Right now, I think he's just shaking off some of the rust there for sure. Kello from the other side. I see what you did there, Muad'Dib. Mudeeb says 33-10 win for the Los Angeles Rams. I'd love to see that, Mudeeb. If you're still here, what do you think? Like, do you think the Rams are going to play the starters all the way through? Do you think that they're just going to play them to half? Like, what are your kind of thoughts on that whole situation? Because the conversation about the starters playing the last week, I've definitely given it a lot of airtime just because I'm very fascinated by the way the Rams have approached this. Just looking at what they've done in years past, this is kind of abnormal for the Rams to be able to play them going into the last week of the season when you could risk injury. When really the Rams have shown in the past they don't care about seeding that they get, they just want to play anybody. But I think that this situation is a little bit different from ones in years past, where it's like, yeah, you have to admit as a Rams fan, like the last two games have kind of sunk a little bit of momentum, a little bit. I personally like the Rams not being a Super Bowl favorite, like conversation team. I like them being a little bit more of an underdog. But you have to admit, like the last couple of weeks definitely have deflated things a little bit for the Rams. So I think going in here with the starters, as long as they don't get hurt, like that's the biggest thing I worry about. I just really worry about some sort of bad injury going into the playoffs. That's really the only thing that causes a little bit of concern, but I can understand where they're coming from, just trying to get some good momentum going into the playoffs. Mudeeb says Rams pulled the starters after the corgi race. Tuna is supposed to be in that halftime show. I did hear about that. That maybe the corgi race will be more entertaining for Cardinals fans than the actual game. We'll see what ends up happening. But yeah, honestly, I'm kind of in that boat of thinking the Rams are going to pull some starters after the halftime break. And I think the Rams are going to put it together a good enough first half to be able to feel confident going forward, showing what they were able to do there. Kind of similar to how teams approach preseason a lot of the times where they put their starters in. Obviously, the Rams don't do this, but put their starters in, get some good football, get some reps, knock some rust off, and then take them out after like 2 drives, maybe. I think for the Rams, they're going to probably give a quarter or two to the starters, get some of that momentum, get some good, clean tape out there, and then they'll be good to go. But honestly, that is going to do it here for this preview edition. Thank you guys for tuning in to the live edition of the preview. Just made it a lot easier after our Monday night football game to be able to do it a couple of days later, have a little bit more information, and be able to do it live with you guys was a lot of fun. I will be doing a video tomorrow. I have no idea what the topic is going to be about. If you guys saw my video earlier, you know I'm going to be trying to upload a video every single day, just kind of raw, uncut, whatever needs to be talked about in the month of January. Every day I will be posting a video, so keep your eyes out for that. But that's going to do it for me. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys have a great day.